Hi and welcome back to the channel in episode 10, I think it's 10, of WRX in the shed build. The interior paint has had a couple of days to dry now, so it should have hardened off enough. So now it's time to get going with fitting out the interior and getting this car and this pile of parts off my garage floor and back inside the car. So whilst putting this thing together, we discovered a few things. I said earlier on, there's a difference in these firewalls between the version 1, 2s and the version 3, 4s and beyond. Basically this whole firewall panel and the scuttle panel for the wipers is different. And I believe the reason for that is the airbags. When airbags came in, the design had to change to accommodate airbags, and that required a redesign of the firewall. We only discovered that when we went to put the wiper motor in last time. We had a crack at it and realised that there are actually different wiper motors. So that's an interesting thing that we didn't know about before. So I've got the correct wiper motor, the version 3, version 4 wiper motor to fit this firewall. As it turns out, the rods and the actual actuators are the same, so there's no difference there. And just a tricky thing to fit this back together again. But anyway, I'll get there with it, get it all in, and yeah, we should be pretty right with getting it back together, hopefully. Okay, a couple of things. First of all, clutch slave cylinder. I went to put this in the car and get it all hooked up, and found that it's actually seized. It's been sitting in the weather. It's got moisture in it, so that's the end of that. So I'll have to put a new clutch slave cylinder on, which is no big drama. They're not particularly expensive. Believe it or not, this monstrosity is actually for the clutch plumbing. Why Subaru went to such elaborate lengths with all of these lines, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Basically, one end goes into the master cylinder and the other end goes into the slave cylinder. As you can see, they're only, probably 300 mil apart, if that. So not even a foot apart, really. But for some reason, these pipes, they go all over the place. So what I'm going to do with this one is, instead of putting this ridiculous design back in, we'll just use a stainless steel braided line that'll go straight from the master cylinder down to a new clutch slave cylinder, which will simplify it all. And also, it's not uncommon for WRXs for this hose to split, this rubber hose on all models of WRX. This is a problem over a period of time, and it causes the clutch pedal to do funny things. So a braided stainless steel line will sort that out, and we won't ever have trouble with that. So and it's not easy to change that. Basically, to get in there when it's in the car, it's intercooler off job, so easier to do it while we're putting it together. Now, to get all this separated out and then put it back in the car. Right, that's the intake side of things on temporarily, just to have a look at it. I really don't like this at all. I'm not sure in the old car how this was all mounted, but this cable tie looks suspicious, like it was cable tied on. This is all stainless steel, so it's quite heavy. I'll definitely be making a bracket, welding up some sort of bracket and making a mount to hold that solidly, because I'm going to transfer that to this standard hose here, this elbow, and break that. And it's all a bit tight and a bit cramped in there with the plumbing and the hoses. It's not a brilliant setup at all, the way that it's been done in the past on this. It's tidied up a lot better than it was previously, but it's still not 100%, but it'll certainly do, and once this is secured in, it should be okay. Okay, nice to get a few bits and pieces done on this and completed. Some of the fiddly bits, there's a lot more fiddly bits to go now. There's a few anomalies with the wiring, things like the plugs on the wiper motor and the wiring loom. They are in the same configuration, but they're a slightly different size plug, so I'm going to have to pin out the plug and change that over from a later model wiring loom to fit the later model wiper motor. Also, where the wiring loom comes through into the inner arches, so out of the sides of the car, for some reason, at some point in the past, the factory wiring boots that were on there, the large sort of grommets, have been cut off the loom, which is a bit of a drama. I'll have to try and locate a couple of those grommets from somewhere and cut them and then put them on the wiring loom and seal that up, because otherwise dirt and mud will get in there. Also, where the wiring loom's been disconnected, the cover for the back of the fuse box is missing, so I'll have to see if I can locate one of those as well. Hopefully that won't be too much of a drama. I'm hoping they're going to be the same on the slightly later GCs to the early ones, and it will just clip on. Trying to find an early version 1, version 2 cover for a wiring for a fuse box might not be so easy. So anyway, a couple of bits and pieces to sort out. Haven't got the complete wiring loom done. It's all laid out for the front section, which is great, and most of the front stuff is connected up. There's still the rear wiring loom to do, and the car that the wiring loom came out of was a hatchback rather than a sedan, so there's a couple of other bits and pieces I've got to change over and sort out with that as I go. So that's it for this episode. I know there are some very crazy times going on at the moment, and there have been some even more draconian measures in place. Certainly where we live, they're not allowed to travel region to region within WA, and they've closed the borders off now, so that's basically it. We're sort of locked in a bit of a police state at the moment. I suppose in the meantime, it gives me more time to get on and get this car sorted out and done. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and if you subscribe, click on the notification bell as well, so that you'll be notified when we put out new videos. And I'll catch you again soon. Cheers.